John Harbaugh is taking a measured, deliberate approach to his next move, and around the league, that patience is being noticed. Teams like the Buffalo Bills and Green Bay Packers, in particular, would be wise to pay close attention. When the Baltimore Ravens dismissed Harbaugh on Tuesday, the moment felt strikingly familiar to anyone who remembers Andy Reid's exit from Philadelphia more than a decade ago. Reid was let go by the Eagles on December 31st, 2012, after a 14-year run that included 9 playoff appearances, 10 postseason wins, and a Super Bowl trip. Despite missing the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, Reid was universally regarded as a premier head coach. As a result, he instantly became the most coveted name in a coaching cycle that also featured Chip Kelly at the height of his college fame and an emerging interim coach named Bruce Arians. Reid was unemployed for just 4 days. He brushed aside multiple interview requests and instead spent 9 hours in a conference room at a Philadelphia airport with the Kansas City Chiefs decision makers. By the time he walked out, he had his next job. Other interviews were canceled. The deal was done. It was a textbook example of how fast the NFL moves when an elite head coach becomes available. John Harbaugh, who spent 8 seasons on Reid's staff in Philadelphia, belongs squarely in that same category. Across 18 seasons in Baltimore, Harbaugh compiled 180 wins, a Super Bowl championship, 12 playoff appearances, 11 double-digit win seasons, 4 AFC championship game trips, and an AP Coach of the Year award in 2019. Just as important, he established a culture of stability and leadership that carried the Ravens through adversity, including the fallout from the Ray Rice domestic violence case in 2015. That kind of resume carries enormous weight in ownership circles. Given that pedigree, Harbaugh could have moved quickly after his dismissal. He easily could have been deep into interviews or even had a new job by the end of the week. Instead, he paused. Within a day of his departure, Harbaugh's agent, Brian Harlan, had already fielded calls from more teams than there were actual head coaching openings. That reality alone suggested that at least a few franchises with sitting head coaches were quietly gauging Harbaugh's interest. Yet, rather than rush into meetings, Harbaugh's camp made it clear that official interviews would not begin until the following week at the earliest. That decision appears entirely intentional. 2 agents representing coaching candidates with interview interest this cycle independently described the same strategy. Harbaugh wants to see the full board before making a move. That approach was validated almost immediately when the Miami Dolphins abruptly fired Mike McDaniel after initially signaling he would return. McDaniel had met with owner Stephen Ross, held a season-ending press conference, and completed exit interviews with players, only to be dismissed once Harbaugh entered the market. When Harbaugh became available, McDaniel suddenly wasn't. That same dynamic could soon affect playoff teams as well. One agent put it plainly, "I'm sure they're waiting to see what happens with Buffalo." Another quickly added, "You're leaving out Green Bay." Both comments underscore the pressure facing Bills head coach Sean McDermott and Packers head coach Matt LaFleur as the postseason unfolds. In Green Bay, LaFleur enters 2026 in the final year of his contract after failing to secure an extension last offseason under new team president Ed Policy. What initially looked like a financial negotiation has grown more complicated over time. LaFleur's reported $5 million annual salary ranks 19th among NFL head coaches, trailing several far less accomplished peers. In 2025 alone, he reportedly earned less than 3 first-year head coaches, Jacksonville's Liam Cohen, the Jets' Aaron Glenn, and Chicago's Ben Johnson. Within his own division, LaFleur lags behind Johnson, Minnesota's Kevin O'Connell, and Detroit's Dan Campbell. That financial gap was already notable before Green Bay made aggressive win-now moves last offseason, most notably trading for Micah Parsons. Those decisions raised expectations. Now, with injuries mounting and the Packers fading late into the postseason picture, questions about LaFleur's ability to navigate adversity are resurfacing. While his overall record of 76-41 remains strong, the recent trend is less flattering. Over the past 4 seasons, LaFleur is 37-31 with just 1 playoff win. Simply put, his best years alongside Aaron Rodgers are starting to feel distant. None of this guarantees a change if Green Bay falters this weekend, but it opens the door to uncomfortable conversations. That said, there are significant hurdles to a potential Harbaugh pursuit in Green Bay. Harbaugh is expected to command a salary approaching $20 million per season and is believed to want meaningful control over the 53-man roster and personnel decisions. It is highly unlikely that general manager Brian Gutekunst would relinquish that level of authority. Buffalo presents a different and potentially more intriguing scenario. Sean McDermott's postseason resume includes a glaring blemish, a 0-5 record in road playoff games. 3 of those losses came against Kansas City, with the others against Houston and Jacksonville. Another early exit, particularly a loss to the Jaguars, would represent yet another wasted season in Josh Allen's prime as the quarterback approaches his age 30 year. Context matters here. The AFC playoff field this season lacks Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. The opportunity is real. Buffalo has a strong run game, an MVP-caliber quarterback, and an offensive coordinator in Joe Brady who is drawing head coaching interest of his own. If the Bills stumble again, the scrutiny on McDermott will intensify. Should that happen, Buffalo could quickly become the most attractive job on the market entering 2026. A new stadium is on the horizon, the core of the roster remains intact, and most of the team's premium draft capital is still available. While the Bills are tight against the salary cap, restructuring a handful of major deals could create flexibility, particularly to reinvest in a defense that needs reinforcement. There are still obstacles. McDermott and general manager Brandon Beane are both under contract through 2027, and Beane maintains full control over personnel. Surrendering any of that authority would not come easily, but the calculus could change dramatically depending on how a potential playoff loss unfolds. A lopsided defeat tends to accelerate conversations that once seemed unthinkable. For now, the clearest fits remain teams like the New York Giants and Miami Dolphins. Both organizations have the financial muscle to meet Harbaugh's demands and the willingness to give him influence. The Giants offer a cleaner roster situation, while Miami presents a more challenging rebuild despite recently hiring John Eric Sullivan as general manager. Ironically, the most appealing job on paper may be Harbaugh's former seat in Baltimore. Another sleeper option is Cleveland, the team Harbaugh grew up rooting for, which could offer more upside than many realize. Ultimately, Harbaugh controls the process. He can choose among nearly any destination, or he can follow the Sean Payton model. Step away for a year, collect a lucrative analyst paycheck, and wait for the perfect opening. Either way, he holds the leverage. He knows it. The league knows it. And starting next week, the rest of the NFL will see exactly how he decides to use it.